Welcome back, everybody. So today we're going to check in on Lemondrop. Now this is part of our small batch brewing smash series. If you haven't, I will link the playlist up above. But what we're starting with in this series is all smash beers. We're changing the grain and changing the hops, but we're keeping the yeast the same, just to get to know what we're dealing with grains and hop. If you're new to homebrewing, I would say this is a perfect place to start out, where you can test different grains and test different hops to see what you think about them. Now, there are a ton, and as we've talked about in the past, we could spend years just dealing with smash beers, because you could change the pounds or the amount of grains you use, and you could change the pounds, the addition times of the hops you're using. Now, what we have been doing is 2 pounds 12 ounces of a grain with 1 ounce of hops. Now, this one was the first one that I did change. What we were doing was the 2 pounds 12 ounces of grain, and the yeast was working overtime. So we were getting high ABV beers, and I felt that that high ABV was covering up the hops. So on this one, this was the first one that I went with 2 pounds of grain and then put the Lemondrop. Now, Lemondrop is a low alpha acid beer. This Lemondrop is 5.9%, so it's not going to take a lot of grain to cover up the actual smell and taste of Lemondrop. So I did knock this one down to 2. We've already had one review. Steve's still sick, so he's not here, but I need to keep doing these, so we will keep on going. So this one did use the Rarh Pilsner Malt. Now that is a very light, I think it's the lightest grain that you can go. So I wanted something very light, because I felt like Lemondrop was going to be delicate, and with the low alpha acids, I wanted something, a grain that was low, that wasn't going to cover it up. Now, that doesn't mean that if you mix it with something, it can't still come through. So you could use like a Rarh 2-row or a Viking malt or a Vienna mixed with another hop that could let Lemondrop shine. But because this is a smash beer, single malt, single hop, I wanted to bring something down so that way we could see if this did shine. So this is a 5.81% ABV. This was bottled on 5/19. Today is 7/3, so you could say a month and a half old on this one. Now, the weird part about this is I must have still been using the same yeast packet. We're using US-05 yeast right now, and with 2 pounds of grain, I still hit a 5.81% beer. I believe Beersmith wanted like a 4.2. So something, either that yeast packet or those yeast packets, those first ones, were very fresh and could handle it, or something, because lately I've been using the 2 pounds of grain and the ABV has been starting to drop. So we'll have to see as the series continues what happens, but this one with 2 pounds of grain did end up over a 5.5% ABV. Now, for the recipe, just in case you want it, 2 pounds of whatever base malt. In this experiment, it's Rarh Pilsner, then 0.39 ounces of Lemondrop at 30 minutes, 0.29 at 5 minutes, then 0.32 at dry hop 3 days into fermentation. So let's go ahead and get it in here, see what we think. If you did see the first tasting video of this, Steve and I were both intrigued about this. We really wanted to try this. Also, I did brew this with Vienna, the Lemondrop with Vienna, and some people on Instagram were saying, oh, we have to follow this. We can't wait to see what happens with Lemondrop. Does it play well by itself, or does it need a support system around it? But we'll see. So we do have small and medium bubbles. Bubbles on the side are very spread apart, like bubble wrap, a little over a finger of head. Color. I almost want to say golden yellow, but it's like a fainted golden yellow. Lots of bubbles coming up. I can make the light box out, but I can't completely see through it. Right now, it looks like it's chill haze, because I believe the other one was clearer than this. But since this is the second tasting, I could see that grain starting to take over a little bit, and that hop starting to fade off. Let's go ahead and smell. Big, like lemon, like skin lemon is what I get. Maybe a touch of alcohol. Let's see if I wrote down what this is. So, Lemondrop hop is floral and aroma, flavor and aroma. Lemon, citrus, herbal. It almost smells like a lemon. I don't want to say a lemon tree, but lemon grass. Like, it's kind of earthy, grassy, but that lemon component is there. Maybe a touch of alcohol, which I would think would start coming out and that grain would take over. A little graininess, but I would go with like a lemongrass, like herbal, earthy lemon, but that lemon is there. Let's go ahead and taste. Definitely getting the grain. That Pilsner grain is starting to come through, and what I do on any grain that I buy is before I brew it and it's not crushed, I do eat one, and that's kind of what it tastes like. That Pilsner Rarh grain is what I'm getting. But you are getting that lemon. That lemon is dominant, but it's more earthy, grassy than anything. Very light bodied, but yeah, that malt is really starting to come through. In the aftertaste, it's like a malted lemon. So I would say 2 months is about the time, if you're just using Lemondrop, that you want to start drinking it. We'll see if it happens with the Vienna too. But yeah, because there's not a lot. I mean, it's a smash beer, so you only have 2 things in here, or 3 if you count the yeast. It seems like in a lot of these, the malt takes over very quickly, and I think that's because there's not enough hops in the beer. When you're only putting 1.25 gallons into the fermenter, I think it's hard to let these last like we have been, because it seems like on most of them that malt takes over a lot quicker than it should. And I think that's because there's only a malt and a hop, where if you add multiple malts and multiple hops, they're gonna mesh better in the long run than they are in the short term. But yeah, I still think it's solid though. That malt is starting to come in hard, and I bet you next month it's going to be way overpowered. But there is like a citrus aftertaste, like a lemon aftertaste after you get through that malt. You can't taste the alcohol, so that's good. But in an older beer, or I think in a beer like this, that malt is going to take over no matter what, and you're not going to get as much alcohol out of it. But yeah, I think it's definitely drinking well. I think it's a better support hop than it is a main hop. It would be, and we'll do this. I want to pair this with the Huel melon and see what we get out of that, because I think that lemon and that melon would play well together. Um, but that'll be down the road. But technically, this is the lightest malt I can get at my local homebrew stores. I don't think there's a lighter malt or grain that's under 1.8. If there is, let me know and I might try and pick some up. But yeah, it just seems like no matter what you do with a smash beer, um, that malt is going to take over a lot quicker, because most beers you see shelf life 6 months, or in some Bell's beers we've seen shelf life 3 months, and these, some of these haven't even lasted that long. And again, I think it's because it's only a single hop and a single malt, so that malt can really take over. Where if you start combining a lot of those, the hops are gonna play well with the grain and maybe be more pungent than the grain. So it's gonna take a little bit more time to die down, and then you'll get the malt. But we'll see once we start like the single malt, then double hop, or two malts and two hops. But yeah, I don't think it's bad, but yeah, it's starting to go down. That malt is really starting to pick up. So if you like this review, thumbs up. If you don't, thumbs down. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring that bell so you know when new videos are coming out. And until next time, happy brewing.